Hello everyone. I'm Salma Azarparand and I'm the lead psychologist and neurofeedback director at Mindtune Dubai. Today's conversations is extra meaningful for me because I get to speak to Dr. Sonakshi Ruhella, whose guidance and journey in psychology continue to inspire many of us. I am excited to start my conversations, but before that, the much needed introduction. Dr. Sonakshi Ruhella is an educational strategist, licensed psychologist, leadership consultant, and founder of You Matter Consulting Services, specializing in executive coaching, organizational consulting, leadership development, and mental well-being. She is currently assistant professor of psychology at Rochester Institute of Technology, Dubai, and has held leadership roles at Curtin University, Dubai, and Amity University, Dubai, where she established psychology department and lead academic operations. Holding a PhD in psychology, Harvard certificate in higher education, and SFHEA recognitions. She is known for expertise in higher education leaderships, accreditations, and institutional effectiveness. A TEDx speaker and CDA Dubai licensed psychologist. She works extensively in counseling, psychotherapy, DIE training, and behavioral intervention. Dr. Ruhalla has authored the award-winning book Counseling Interventions for Millennials, which has been published in 9 languages. Her recent recognition include Asia's 40 Under 40 in 2025, the Outstanding Positive Impact Speakers Award by UAE Next Mastermind 2024, and the Educational Leadership Award by the International Business Summit and Award 2023. Welcome, Dr. Sonakshi.
Thank you, Salma. It's great to meet you.
So I'll ask you my first questions. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You spent the years in working in psychology, educational, and mental well-being. What inspired you to start You Matter Consulting Service in your journey?
Thank you so much, Salma. That's a beautiful question. Uh, and something that I've been asking myself over and over again as well. I think You Matter is the byproduct of reflection and responsibility. For a decade or so, Salma, I have been taking a lot of work which is more clinical, which is a lot of teaching. I still work with a very reputed American university in Dubai. And when you have experience through interaction with people, clients, you have interaction with communities, government sectors, you attend conferences, you conversations, you gather so much of information and you gather so much of wonderful connections and networks that you feel like you want to expand and you want to build your horizons and so. I felt the need to expand the horizon along with my teaching and counseling and move to the larger community as well. So for that, I think I reflected upon it. I took some break. I went slow living for a while or so. Then I re-energized myself, felt curious again. And I thought, no, I'm going to now start establishing and working towards who I am and what my vision is towards life, which is to eventually reach out to many people and benefit them and make the world more people-centric.
My second question is about the name of You Matters itself. It's like feels deeply emotional and human centric, right? And then what philosophy or message that you want people to feel when they heard about it?
That's actually a very good question again. Um, See, this looks very simple. You matter as the name sounds very simple, right? Uh, However, it has a deep, profound meaning. The concept is these days there's a huge struggle in people to be seen, right? There's a huge struggle in people with the fear of replaceability per se. So you matter is very centered towards people. It is telling people that you are the person who matters. You need to value yourself a lot more than these professional titles, the personal expectations, the social expectations. So looking at the holistic human being was the idea per se, making sure that people value themselves beyond the performances. They're able to see that they're limitless in life, right? That there are possibilities. They can manifest a good life for themselves. And so, You Matter was a very essential feature for us. But thank you on that question.
Based on my experience that I'm working 6 to 7 years with clinically and then corporate. So my questions is that so many people struggle in the emotional and psychological aspects. Can you just tell me more about that? One of my question can be related to that as well.
But yes. And I think it's a very valid question, Salma. I think there are three things where most people are struggling today. The first is the fear of replaceability. In their mind, there is a constant comparison to AI and the fast pace at which AI is taking over things, right? I have been asking people to focus on the collective intelligence aspect of it, where AI plus human collaboration is something that is going to get you results. However, whenever I speak to people, whether I go to an educational institution, to a school to speak to teachers, or whether I'm going to a corporate sector, whether I'm actually moving to, in fact, some days back I was at a film school and I was talking to some of the students of the film school, and you will realize that everybody has this very innate fear of replaceability. So their constant comparison with AI, which is definitely putting them under a lot of stress. The second thing I feel is, though we are hyper connected, like through all possible sources, we're very connected, right? There are social media channels that people have, they're consistently engaging with social media, but we're still very emotionally disconnected. That I hear complaints in my clinical practice, or if I hear some corporate, jargons, most of the time people are talking about how lonely they are, how, they, on the weekends, they're struggling to find people or events and activities to engage themselves into, because they find themselves overworking sometimes, or either overthinking about work sometimes. So that becomes one of the problems as well. And the third major thing that I see these days, Salma, is people have the inability to pause without guilt. Slowing down means you're unproductive these days, right? And that kind of pushes a very latent hurry, rush mode to people, and they're just working sometimes without realizing, is that the meaning of their work? Is that the purpose of their life? Right? So that becomes, or that adds to your anxiety. In fact, Salma, I want to share something very interesting with you. UAE has a 10 million plus population, and expected 56% of the population suffers from anxiety. 56% of the population. It's a lot of people. And most of this anxiety is anticipatory in nature. Most of this anxiety is because of your work life balance issues, or most of this anxiety is because at work you have an internal psychological struggle that I belong here, do I not belong here, do I want to do this, do I not want to do this, so am I learning anything new, am I not learning anything? So that is the deeper struggle that people have.
So it's this a large number of people that they have anxiety. Even with my personal experience with a client that I'm seeing, the first number that they are suffering from, the first symptoms that they are mentioning that they want to solve that concerns related to that patterns is anxiety. Unfortunately, it's a lot. My another questions is about that. How is you matter consulting service is different from the traditional consulting and also or wellness platform in a way that approach people in leadership and mental well-being?
Yeah, which I think is a very valid question again. UAE hosts a lot of consulting firms per se, and we're working parallelly with them. The biggest difference is in the approach that we have, right? What we're looking at, Salma, is we are picking up from the experiences of psychology, strategic leadership, leadership science per se, and making it more of an ROI based solution for a company. So I'll give you a brief of what we do at U Matters. U Matters has two very important segments. The first segment is we are a management solutions company where we handhold organizations. We basically assess them. we figure out what are the concerns in the organization, which many people have. Most of the time, we could see a particular sector, for example, a finance or a HR, where there is very high attrition rate, or we could see that holistically the company culture is such that you will either find very stressed people or you will find extremely attrition rate is very high. So we handhold them for a period of time where we provide them with an assessment, which is pre-assessment. We provide them solutions throughout. This could be in terms of one-on-one coaching. This could be also in terms of skill development sessions for their people, or attaching ourselves to a particular department and helping them grow from their concerns, or maybe, helping them see what the problems really are and rectifying those problems. And then towards the end of it, we do a post-testing to show, post-assessment and testing to show the massive difference that we are expecting of our intervention per se. So this is we as consultants hand-holding a company to be able to let them see operational excellence through our interventions per se. So that is one segment of our work. The second segment of our work is majorly on lifestyle coaching, which is we attach ourselves to the senior leaders. Now, we all understand that most of the senior leaders in UAE already have a professional coach, which is in-house at work. Most of the time, these are only HR people who become coaches, which is very unfortunate. You and I, we both know we come from the field of psychology. It is so difficult to find an industrial and organizational psychologist which is in-house, right? So most of the time, these are HR people who act as coaches to the senior leadership. However, what we do is we attach ourselves to these senior leaders and we help them see a very holistic picture: personal, professional, social, environmental, temperamental. Because every segment of their life is impacting work. Right? It's not necessarily that you're just professionally invested into something and it's not reaping benefits.
Right.
So we try and rectify all of this. And you asked me a question, how are we different with traditional consulting? It's because we have the expertise in-house to be able to manage these different areas of life.
Yes.
So our expertise is definitely more psychological driven, more counseling driven, right? Like I said, I'm one of the team members, and I am also the founder, but a team member, and I work in the area of counseling. So I have that expertise. We have master coaches who have expertise to provide them leadership development. We have master coaches in house who have the expertise to, let's say, brain mapping, right? Which is what my team does as well, right? So that becomes our segment. So our approach is different. We focus on the language because we're based on neuro-linguistic programming. We also focus on the complete human being in general. We're very people-centric. So that is the different side. That is the different angle that we bring to consulting per se.
Yeah, the good points that I really like it that you mentioned that you'll do the comparison pre and post, which is like most of the organization, they cannot do that. So,
Which is important also, Salma. See,
yes.
we both have been in the industry to realize that you cannot do magic in 1 hour, right?
Of course.
You need to have a pre-data of how people are doing, right? And capitalizing on people. It is so unfortunate that people or human resource is the most undernourished and undercapitalized, resource. And if we start to invest in that, massive benefits can come.
Of course. My another question is about that. What kind of impact of you hope like you matter consulting service creates in organization, individual, and society over the next few years?
Oh, that's a brilliant question. See, Salma, impact is the most important thing, right? When we invest our efforts into something, we need it to convert into something valuable,
Yeah.
right? I feel that with UMATA Consulting Services per se, the impact is in people recognizing that they are a work in progress, right? That they need to learn, they need to grow, they need to build. And in all of that, if people are able to take account of their life, that is the impact that we have achieved. Right?
Yes.
So, You Matter aims at making sure that people feel valued, they understand that they are extremely important, and they understand that they're capable of doing things which are beyond their capacity sometimes as well. So that extra push is an important feature in life,
Yeah.
right? And that's where you matter and its impact comes.
That's amazing. My last question is about that one of our viewers that they send a direct message and they asked that question, which is like I feel that amazing questions. Like she asked, "You Matter consulting service seems to work across multiple sectors, which is industries and communities. Um, do you cater to, and why do you believe educational institutions especially need psychological and emotional consulting supporting today?"
So these are two questions, Salma. I will answer them in parts. Let me take the first part. You Matter Consulting Services, we cater to organizations, corporates per se, healthcare sector, hospitality, individuals, couples, because we look at relationships as well and coaching them in relationships. Then we look at government entities, communities, schools, universities. So we cater to a diverse range of, companies and organizations per se. And the reason is we are investing in people.
Yeah.
People drive these organizations, right?
Yes.
And these days, Salma, uh, everything is replaceable, whether it's work, it's relationship, it's people. So we are working on making this vulnerability their strength, right? So we cater to a large variety and a large range of people per se and organizations per se. The second is an important question. Why do educational institutions need consulting services? And at the drop of my hat, the first thing that I will tell you is it's because educational institutions work on autopilot. They have been in business, they have been engaging with children for such a long time that sometimes even when they think they're open-minded or progressive, they actually have a very tunnel vision, because anything that they have been doing and which has been working for them well becomes a routine, becomes a rigidity. Right? So it's like they sometimes are not able to see what are the other best practices in the world. Sometimes they're not able to see, oh, these things might help a child or might help my other stakeholder, which is parents per se. Right? So sometimes we need to show it to them that you are on an autopilot, you need to drop that, you need to relearn some of the practices per se. There are so much that's happening across the world. I'll give you a simple example. The other day, I received a request from one of the schools in UAE, and they said, "Oh, Dr. Sonakshi, the school has reopened after the war crisis in UAE, and could you please do a workshop for our class 12 students on work-life balance?" And I had to write back to them saying, "Thank you. Yes, I would be happy to do it on work-life balance. But is there a possibility we can now speak to children about psychological safety?"
Right.
Because these young children have witnessed something which is, obviously hostile. And now they've come back to school where parents are both either sometimes celebrating that the children are going to school or sometimes even worried that they're going to school, right? So in such a situation, we need to make these students comfortable. We cannot have an ostrich effect where we say, "I'm not going to talk to the children about war because what if they start speaking about?" Right? So these kind of things, Salma, is what schools are doing, which they sometimes are just working for a particular checklist, whether it's for an accreditation, whether it's for an institutional effectiveness, but sometimes they miss the larger picture of life. Right? Where you have to engage the child for them to grow and for them to see themselves in a different light. So that's why consulting services are very important feature.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sonakshi, for sharing information regarding You Matter consulting service. It was really informative answers. And then I wish you all the best in your journey and new beginning.
Thank you so much, Salma. And always thank you for your support as well, besides obviously running this, show with us today. You're also, a valued partner. So we would be very happy to welcome you as a master coach. We know that you have expertise in neurofeedback and counseling. So let's learn from each other and create something extraordinary.
Sure, it's my pleasure to work with you.
Thank you, Salma.